Welcome to Political Paradigm. I'm Terry Ikumi. My guest is the distinguished Senator Uba Sani. Distinguished Senator Uba Sani, welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you're one of those politicians who started quite early. You know, since 1999, you've been in politics. That's when you started your politics, and you started at an early age. Talk to us about your early political life. You know, that was the period where, as a young man, you had the opportunity to be special advisor to the then president, Olusegun Obasanjo. So talk to us about that.
Okay, thank you, my brother Terry. I was a civil rights activist for many years. Of course, myself and my colleagues fought for the enthronement of democracy in Nigeria. I was the deputy national chairman of the Campaign for Democracy, headed by Bekwara Sankutu of blessed memory. Then later, when we came and decided to come together and form a coalition of one single opposition group, headed by Chief El-Rufai, we formed Joint Action Committee of Nigeria, JACON, which I became the Deputy National Chairman North.
Not many people know that you were a member of the PDP at one point.
I was, because I worked closely with Obasanjo. I was not only a member of Obasanjo's government, but I was one of the most influential members of that government. Obasanjo was someone who was highly patriotic, a very good leader, and because of him, all of us decided to stay together and work closely with him. And I can tell you, I was encouraged to remain in PDP because of President Obasanjo. He was a very wonderful leader. He's still a very patriotic person, one of the best leaders we'll ever have in the history of this country. I mean, we also can recall vividly that we had another government, or PDP, and some of us disagree at a certain point with what was happening in government. And because of that, we decided to now start thinking of how we can be able to now move away, for us to be able to at least, we have conviction, we have our belief in terms of democracy, we know what we believe in. And when those things are not happening, we have to start thinking of how do we move away in order to actualize what we believe in, supporting the people and entrenching democracy itself. So because of that, some of us decided to move out from PDP.
You speak so highly of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. What do you make of the communication between him and President Muhammadu Buhari? He has written quite some letters to the president, condemning in some regard and advising in others. There have also been responses from the presidency, practically dismissing some of his, if not all the letters he's written. What do you make of these letters? Do you think that he's justified to write these letters? Recall as well that the current administration is questioning the privatization of the power sector and blaming that government as well.
Most of the messages he's sending and his position on national issues, for me, whether you like him or not, he appears to be the most patriotic leader ever in the history of this country, and the most destabilized. Because in a country like Nigeria, you need a leader who sees everyone as one. He don't care about where you come from. He's someone who believes in one Nigeria. And for me, is the key. And wherever he sees any problem, I know him. He's someone who don't hide his feelings. He loves Nigeria so much. He believes in one Nigeria. He will come out and say his position. So for me, it doesn't matter whether most of his suggestions or advice are being considered, but I believe Nigerians appreciate him and they love his position on national issues. When Obasanjo was leaving, look at the economy, the way they left the economy. It was sound. They worked extremely hard to ensure that all our debt were completely, we paid some of our debt, some were even written up by major countries around the world, because he brought people that are really, really knowledgeable about the economy. He assembled one of the best economic teams in this country. He was someone who didn't believe in his knowledge alone. He believed in the wisdom of people who are really brilliant. When you look at the issue of fight against corruption also, when he was there, look at what Nuhu Rubadi did. You have to give credit to Obasanjo because he gave him the open hand.
You've praised him so much in the area of economy. If you look at the economy today, it's not as good as it was. In fact, it's deteriorating.
Yeah.
There's inflation. Inflation is hitting double figures. We have the Naira falling rapidly.
Yeah.
So where did we get it wrong?
I think the successive governments that came after Obasanjo did not really build on his own gain. That was a mistake. The simple thing to do was to build on his own progress. When you look at what he did in terms of economic achievement, they should have built on that. You know, it was during his time, we even thought of anything to do with excess crude account. The economy was very sound. We had excess crude account, which we kept for the rainy day. But the successive government that came squandered everything, believing that things will continue to be the way it is.
What
but
successive
Obasanjo has...
which of the governments are you
I
referring
cannot
to?
specifically say which government, but you ask, but I can tell you, you have to go back and do your little research. But you will understand with me, if you go back and check, that was what really happened.
Well, if we don't know where the problem went wrong, how do we know how to correct it?
But I told you, my
this-
own question is that...
Is this from the Goodluck administration? Is this from the Yar'Adua administration? Is this from the Buhari
I
administration?
can't blame one government, but my position is clear. They should have built on his own achievement. We wouldn't have been where we are today. Certainly. That was why the problem was.
All right, very well. Let's talk about you now as a first-time senator. Your time is almost running out, but let's go back to when you first contested for the Senate in 2011. You lost that. You didn't contest in 2015, and then you came back in 2019. Between that time, why did you not go for a second option, a second opportunity in 2015?
Yeah, no, 2015 for me, the key was trying to support Governor El-Rufai to be the governor of Kaduna State. We are in the same team. We sat down closely and agree that one of us should be the one to take over Kaduna. And El-Rufai was the most qualified. We all agree. And we know his ability and his capacity, knowing what he did in FCT. We just want him to go to Kaduna and replicate what he did in FCT. And of course, we know he was the best person to do that job. So we all decided to put our ambition aside and supported him. And of course, I'm happy today that has been achieved. Because Governor El-Rufai, whether we like it or not, as I'm talking to you, what he has done in Kaduna is unprecedented in terms of infrastructural development.
We'll talk about the details of his administration and what he's done or not done. But with the way you have, explained your relationship with the governor, it would seem that you have a very close one. And this is a good time to ask you this question that's been in the public space. There are rumors that you are the anointed candidate of Governor El-Rufai to take over. Are you confirming that?
This question, straightforward, that is just a creation of some people. But the fact remains, El-Rufai is a Democrat. We are Democrats. Even from my own history, you believe with me that I'm a Democrat. So the idea of El-Rufai anointing anyone does not even come into this equation at all. What I believe in is that as I'm sitting here, I'm a senator, and I'm chairing one of the most critical committee in the National Assembly. I'm happy you have been coming to the National Assembly for many years. You will agree with me that my committee covers almost 90% of our financial services sector in this country. Therefore, I have to be focused with the job at hand. And for me, what is more important...
That period is almost over now.
No,
you have a few months to go. But while you say that you are not the anointed candidate of the governor, do you not have a governorship ambition?
Again, for me, if you know me very well, that was the reason why when you asked me about why didn't I contest election 2015, I just gave you a very simple answer. And the answer here is also very simple. For me, when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it. My belief is that, look, when you're elected, our people are very, very, we don't come to the national television and make a lot of noise. The people of Kaduna are highly knowledgeable. They're very educated. 2023 election is an election that will be based on issues. So my concern is that what will qualify me to be the governor of Kaduna State is my achievement as a senator. So for me, you have to go and show them your report card. you have to show them your scorecard, what you've done as a senator. That is the only way they can elect you to be their own governor. That is why today I'm happy. What I've done as a senator, no senator in my own zone since 1999 have done even 10% of what I've done. When you know, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that I'm sitting here, probably I'm the only senator in Nigeria with 2 bills that have been assented by Mr. President that have become a law, national bill, in the Senate today. And when I look at the record, I can tell you clearly that when I look at the record, since 1999, we had a lot of senators from my own zone. No senator was able to sponsor a single bill that was passed and assented by the president. And I was shocked when I saw the record. And I was asking myself, why were they doing? Kaduna State is a very important state in this country. Why the capital of northern Nigeria? Why a state that have a lot of people, are cosmopolitan, educated people, who have the best institutions in this country. And for me to look at the record, I realized that no senator from the central zone that was able to sponsor a single bill that had become a law in this country. I'm really sad.
That is a conversation that we will run through. You know, you being in the Senate for the first time, there's a lot to talk to you about, your experience and some of the things that you've been able to, the milestones you've been able to achieve. But let's finish up with Kaduna politics. Yeah. The APC lost the local council elections. Even the governor's ward was lost. The governor has said that the reason for that loss was that the person that contested that election was the one who wasn't liked by the people. But generally speaking, does it look like the APC is falling out of favor with the people, with the situation in Kaduna State?
After that election, I met like 2 governors. I will mention their names. Sitting governors who met me at a function. They asked me. They told me they have respect for Governor El-Rufai. Because in every state in this country, whether PDP state, APC state, I can tell you, without any fear of contradiction, governors write local government elections and councillorship election. Nobody, even opposition, don't waste their times. They don't waste their time to go and contest any local government election. They write it. But in Kaduna, because El-Rufai is a Democrat, he's someone who believes in fairness. He believes in the rule of law and justice. That is why he called all of us who are elected members of the National Assembly, and even our party leaders, to a meeting and told us clearly that he will not interfere. This election must be free and fair. And I can remember there are some people at that meeting who disagree with him because some of them have been in politics since 1999. And they told the governor that, look, they've been in other political parties in the past, that the tradition is to sit down and write the result. Why will El-Rufai change the rules now? El-Rufai told them we cannot continue like that. And again, to avoid any rigging, El-Rufai decided to introduce electronic voting in Kaduna State so that nobody can rig the election. So for him to have decided to be the first governor in this country to introduce electronic voting, we did it 2018. It wasn't so perfect. He repeated it again last year, which was very perfect. So for me, if we wanted to write the result like other states, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about PDP have won few wards or whatever. It doesn't matter. For us, it's because our governor is fair. He's someone who believes in democracy and the rule of law. That is the only reason.
On the one hand, it is commendable, and many have commended the governor, just like you've done, for organizing a free and fair election, staying away from interfering, as you put it. On the other hand, it says that if a free and fair election is allowed to be conducted in Kaduna, the PDP might stand a chance. So if we look at the free and fair election in its entirety, my question to you is, are you concerned that if that is allowed, that the APC, which seems to be falling out of favor with the people, could lose that election?
No, I think the impression, I don't know where you're getting your impression that APC is losing out. Let me tell you, today, APC have a better chance winning election 2023 than
In
they
Kaduna
had,
State.
in Kaduna State than they had 2019.
Why is that
And I
so?
will tell you the reason. Because some people are coming here and maybe talking to you, they are misinforming the general public who are not from Kaduna. I'm from Kaduna. When you look at El-Rufai's achievement, is it in terms of infrastructure, healthcare development, or is it the area of education? Nobody can argue with me here that Nasir El-Rufai have done more than any governor, not even in the history of Kaduna State, in northern Nigeria. I stand to be challenged, and I can prove it any day, any time. When you look at what he has done in healthcare in Kaduna State, we have 255 wards in Kaduna State. If you are free, one day I will take you to some of the wards in Kaduna. You will agree with me. There is no ward in Kaduna that I have not seen government presence there in terms of healthcare development. We built in every ward, El-Rufai have built 2 primary healthcare centers now, fully equipped, as I'm talking to you. We are talking about getting healthcare to the people at the ward level. We have 23 local governments. In some local government, he built the secondary healthcare centers, hospitals. In some that were really functional, he upgraded them. That is in terms of healthcare. And when we came in, when El-Rufai came as a governor 2015, in Kaduna State we had only 150 governors, 150 doctors in our public hospitals in Kaduna. Today, as I'm talking to you, we have 406 medical doctors in our hospitals. I mean public hospitals, not private. I challenge you to go to any state.
Is this free healthcare?
I'm telling you, I'm coming to that. We have free healthcare for women and children in Kaduna State, as I'm talking to you. At the level of all the children from the time they were given birth up to like about 7 years is free primary healthcare, free healthcare services, and for women. So for me, you cannot fault El-Rufai when it comes to issue of healthcare development in Kaduna State. When it comes to issue of education, when he came in as a governor, 2015, our enrollment in our public primary school was 1.2 million. Today, the enrollment has doubled to about 2.4 million. You know why? Because he abolished all the levies. When we came, we realized that Kaduna State government, previous government, collects about 3.7 billion from the parents of those that take their children to primary schools. But when he came, he abolished those levies. And because of that, government are the one paying the 3.7 billion, subsidizing that. And now we have about 2.4 million enrollment now in our public primary schools. And again, some people have come out to challenge or criticize El-Rufai for retrenching teachers. And maybe because they have no facts or the figures. Yes, 21,750 teachers failed the exam in our public primary schools, and they were retrenched. And again, 25,000 teachers who are qualified were employed.
For those who failed and were retrenched, the concern for many is there are no compensation for them.
I will tell you what the Kaduna State government did. Have you heard of what we call CAT Step in Kaduna? It's an entrepreneurship program that Kaduna State government initiated and is going on now. About 3,000 entrepreneurs, which the governor gave those teachers opportunity to join that. And they will be trained free by Kaduna State government and be given loan to start up their own businesses. So it's not like sending them out to labor market again. He's telling them, look, you might not be qualified to teach in our primary school because we are faced with a lot of problems in terms of education. I must tell you the truth. When we came in, you know, just like I know, As we're talking, we have 13.4 million out-of-school children in this country. And out of them, about 75% are in northern Nigeria. So we are concerned about that when it comes to our own state. And we know the reason, because our basic education is really very poor. And we need to correct that. The only way to do that is to put politics aside and do what is right for history and posterity. And El-Rufai did that. So when he retrenched the workers, I was hearing some opposition saying, oh, he's going to lose the election because he did it just before election. But you know, sometimes as a leader, you have to consider your personal interests and the overall interest of the people that elected you. These children we're talking about, the only way we can empower the children of the poor people for them to compete with the children of the rich people is to give them quality education. Education is a leveler. And the only way to do that is to give them quality education. So El-Rufai realized that, look, he went through public school also. Today, he was a minister. Now he's a governor. Why? Because at that time, the public school was very, very sound. Today, he came back after many years as a governor. He realized that everything wasn't working. And he cannot fall his arm and say, because I want Kaduna people to elect me, I will not going to retrench the workers that are not competent and qualified, to replace them with people that are competent. And those guys are talking about, I'm just telling you, we gave them opportunity to involve in other field. And government provided them with loans through card step.
The teachers?
Everybody did. In fact, the teachers were the ones that were given the opportunity. Government announced it to them that, look, if they want to get involved in any field that is not teaching, because some of them have a lot of skills. Just like President Obasanjo said recently, and I heard him. Buhari also repeated that recently. Look, sometimes we need to also look at other countries. I can give you an example of some countries.
No, before you do that, the immediate concern would be when you're forcefully retrenched and you have no plans to fall back on. I don't think that many people would instantly have ideas to do business or something else that, like you mentioned, for them to get loans for. So what's the immediate concern?
That's why at least you didn't hear me very well, because we didn't ask them to just come and start a business. We provided them the opportunity for training under card step. We want to train them free and give them loans to go and start a business.
So that's my point. Before the training, what do they eat? How do they sustain the lifestyle?
So do you want to, because now you're talking about, now we're coming back to sentiments now. As a leader, you have to realize that, look, you don't have to be sentimental. You have to take decisions that are difficult for the overall interest of our people. Today, because of most of those interventions that the Kaduna State government did in our educational system, go and check. Recently, Kaduna State become number one when you look at the result of the WAEC that was released recently. In the whole of Nigeria, Kaduna State is number one. Why do you think that happened? Why? We came in 2015. We're not even number 20 in this country. But we're number one in northern Nigeria. We're number 12 in the whole of Nigeria. So that was the reason. So for me, you have to look at sentiments and look at governance. You have to look at the satisfaction and take the difficult decision in the overall interest of your people. Because he took Quran to be fair to everyone. And we're talking about children of the poor who might be affected. You know? Are you talking about the future of hundreds of thousands of pupils? We're talking about millions, 2.4 million people in secondary school, in primary school. Or we are talking about 21,000 people here. If you ask me, I will go with the 2.4 million children.
So it's like a sacrifice to get the other.
Yes.
Well,
it's a very easy decision.
What's the sacrifice in the increase in tuition fees? That's also generated quite some reactions.
You're talking about the
tertiary institutions. Tuition fees for tertiary institutions.
Okay, let me answer that one. But I also want to refer you to, maybe, you know, when people are telling stories, they, as opposition, they don't want to come out and say what other thing Kaduna State government is doing. Kaduna State government is probably first state, or I don't know whether other states have really joined us now, to start. We created loans for our own students who are in tertiary institution, even to the extent of even assessing loans to even advance their education abroad, not only in Nigeria. So that's loan scheme. And of course, when they talk about tuition fee, maybe they don't realize or they don't look at other states. It's not only Kaduna State, but because people are rushing to try to change the narrative in Kaduna. That's the issue. What is about tuition fee? When we have provided scholarship for most of the students in tertiary institutions in Kaduna, why is it that people are not thinking about the scholarship we have provided for most of the students in higher institutions in Kaduna? Even the loans for them to advance their education abroad. Nobody's talking about that. Last time I was in London, I had lunch with the students from Kaduna State who are reading medicine, reading law, and very important courses. Kaduna State government paid them the scholarship under the children of the poor, but because they're brilliant but indigent students. And Kaduna State government initiated that, but nobody was talking about that.
Okay, let's talk about the governance which you mentioned that's been spread around Kaduna State. You said that the El-Rufai administration has reached every ward in the state. I don't know if the people of Southern Kaduna will agree to that, because the reports we get from there, and of course you watched my interview with Senator Sani, who said that there's some form of absence of governance in Southern Kaduna.
Of course, first I didn't watch your interview with Shehu Sani because I was really busy. Maybe when you're doing the interview, I was busy doing my work as a senator. I might not be able to be watching interviews. But the fact of the matter is that if Shehu Sani have really said that, really I'll be shocked. Because you just need to, when I say 255 wards, I'm talking about every ward in Kaduna, including the wards in Southern Kaduna. Southern Kaduna have 8 local governments, as we're talking. And every ward in Southern Kaduna, if you go there, you see government presence there. In healthcare development, every ward, go and check it. Kaduna State government built primary healthcare center. They renovated hundreds of schools. When El-Rufai came in 2015, he inherited about 4,200 primary schools that were dilapidated completely. They are inhabitable. They are not even conducive for any primary school people to go there and learn anything. But as I'm talking to you, more than 200 of those primary schools, even in Southern Kaduna, have been renovated, have been well equipped, and they are working. And when I talk about the primary, secondary health care in all the 20 local governments, I'm talking about 8 local governments that are part of Southern Kaduna. So for anybody to come here and talk about Northern Kaduna, Southern Kaduna, is just trying to use religious differences to score cheap political points.
So there's
and
none?
For me,
is there none? Is there none between the people of the North and Southern Kaduna?
Everything is perfect. If you look at El-Rufai's government now, as I'm talking to you, there are very key positions, as we're talking, that have been El-Rufai appointed people from Southern Kaduna. So why will you say that El-Rufai is marginalizing Southern Kaduna?
It's not. It's the people of Southern Kaduna who are saying that. I know you're a senator. That means you followed the Constitution Review public hearing.
Yes.
And that means you're aware that the people of Southern Kaduna are saying that they want a separation.
Many people that are asking for the state is not because they are really marginalized. You know, I'm a member of the Constitutional Review Committee, and I can tell you, I listen to the agitation. Even some people in Northern Kaduna, they want another state. You know, so people want states. It's not because they are marginalized. In Northern Kaduna, there are people also agitating. They met me. They want another state from Northern Kaduna. Just like some people also came and said they need another state. So the demands are 2. Some from Northern Kaduna, they need another state. Some from Southern Kaduna, they need another state. So both of them are agitating. And it's not based on marginalization. Some people believe when you have your own state, you'll have better opportunity to be a big man there. But I don't think what they're thinking is
there an existing crisis between the Northern and Southern Kaduna?
There's nothing. I can tell you we have passed that. When El-Rufai came at the beginning, he inherited a lot of crises. I can tell you, that was not El-Rufai's creation, because the history of the crisis between some part of northern Kaduna and southern Kaduna, El-Rufai met it. He didn't create it. It was not because of El-Rufai that the crisis started. But I can tell you, El-Rufai did very well, as I'm talking to you, to make sure that he resolved most of those differences. Today, what last did we hear of any crisis between southern and northern Kaduna? I can't remember. I'm sure you cannot remember yourself. So, meaning El-Rufai have done well in reconciling the differences. And the difference is not even an issue of ethnicity or religion. It's an elitist crisis. Some people who are few vocal elements within that part of the state always make a lot of noise. But I don't think they're speaking for the majority of the people of southern Kaduna. That is my position. And I can tell you that because I'm relating closely with a lot of members of the House of Reps who are from southern Kaduna. Go and meet them. They will tell you their thinking is different. Most of those people agitating, they should go and contest election and win.
But have you heard the question on why Governor El-Rufai has not been to southern Kaduna since the crisis?
This is another speculation. I'm representing several local governments in my own constituency. It's just because I'm lucky, Kaduna is also part of my constituency. But a lot of local governments within my own constituency, I have not been in because he's a governor.
I mean, but specifically,
so does it mean that every governor must go to every local government?
No, specifically because of the crisis there and the agitations. I mean, these people are crying foul. They say they don't get governance. You say otherwise. They say the security situation there is deteriorating. The governor did say that it was an ethnic and communal issue, but the people are saying no, they are under attack.
Okay, can I correct this impression? In the last 2 years, because in terms of security challenges we are having in Kaduna, I don't think there's any governor that is as transparent as El-Rufai in terms of coming out regularly, to address the media on the security situation in Kaduna. You will agree with me. All the media people in Nigeria will agree with me. He's the only governor that have created a ministry for internal security in Kaduna State, headed by a vibrant young man, Samuel Arwan. And in any case, if you look at the figures, as of just last month, there was a briefing, and I can tell you the number of people that lost their lives in my constituency are 3 times the number of people that lost their life in southern Kaduna. That is a fact. Even Senator Danjumala Kambeni, who is a senator from there, we did these briefings with Danjumala, with all the senators. Usually every quarter, we sat down with the governor, myself, the 2 other senators, members of the House of Reps from PDP and APC. We don't care about political party. We're talking about our country. And El-Rufai briefed all of us. And as in our last briefing, El-Rufai made it clear to us that my own constituency lost more people to this crisis than any other constituency in Kaduna. I'm not talking about more than, but the people that lost their lives in my own constituency are 3 times the number of people that lost their lives in southern Kaduna. So I don't believe when people are coming here with their own propaganda.
I don't know if you would call this propaganda as well, but Senator Sani says that the government isn't doing enough in terms of handling the security situation in the state. Specifically, he feels that the governor isn't paying as much attention to the security agencies in the state, even though he doesn't control the agencies, that he could come in the form of donations or financial support in terms of providing operational vehicles or any other equipment that the security agencies may need to tackle the situation.
Maybe I would talk differently because I don't know the last time he had a discussion with the Commissioner of Police, but I'm telling you here that time to time I will sit down with the Commissioner of Police, with all the relevant security agencies, the heads, in my own constituency, and I can tell you, Governor El-Rufai have bought a lot of vehicles, that I know, and donated those vehicles with a lot of equipments and gadgets to the police, to the army, even to the Air Force. So I know that That is a fact. So when someone is coming here to say something, let him give you his own facts. But I can tell you, you can confirm this from the Commissioner of Police. And all the previous Commissioner of Police that were in Kaduna from 2015 to date, I have direct contact with them. And I can tell you, if you go to them and talk to them, they will tell you the governor have been very supportive of the police and the army and the Air Force and all the security agencies.
So why do you
working
think
in Kaduna.
that the kidnapping situation in Kaduna State has persisted?
It will persist. You know why? You answered, this is a very simple answer. Because like you said, the state governor is just the chief security officer of the state, but he has no control of the security agencies in his own state. That is what it is. It is what it is, but we'll live with that for now, because that is a constitutional provision. You know, when I got into the Senate, maybe you forgot, maybe I have to remind you that, look, apart from Ike Ekwaroma, this distinguished senator, former deputy senate president, I was one senator that sponsored 4 bills trying to create state police in Nigeria. That is my position. And for some people that will come and grandstand about their fear for the creation of state police, they don't want the issue to be solved. And I do not only sponsor the creation of state police through my bill, but I also look at the act that created, look at the Firearms Act. You will recall that. It was passed by the Senate. It is my bill. I look at that law and I realize that it is obsolete. So what did I do? Instead of us to come and make so much noise, we're elected as members of the National Assembly, as legislators, to look at the laws, update those that are obsolete, amend those that need to be amended, and create those that need to be created. So I look at the Firearms Act and I realize that it was obsolete for many years. It is not in line with the global best practices when I look at what happens in other countries. And I was even shocked when the United Nations Regional Center for Africa came up with their own report that there were about 500 million illicit firearms illegally in circulation, and they're in the hands of wrong people in West African sub-region, and about 350 million are domiciled in Nigeria. I didn't make noise. I looked at the Firearms Act and I realized that it was really faulty. It was obsolete. It was not aligned with global best practices. So I amended the Act, and I didn't do that by just sitting down and making noise. I invited the Chief of Army Staff, invited the Chief of Air Staff, I invited the Chief of Naval Staff, I invited the Controller of Custom, Controller of Immigration, Inspector of Police, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation. We all came together in a public hearing. I listened to their own submission. We came out with one of the most important intervention. Senate, I must thank my colleagues in the Senate and the Senate President. It was passed, and now, as I'm talking to you, is waiting for the House of Reps to also pass it. And I have no doubt in my mind, President Buhari will assent it.
So
that
what?
is the only way.
The Firearms Act?
The Firearms Act. And do you know why we want to do that? If you look at the one we're trying to amend, you will agree with me that the penalties and the sanctions are really outdated completely. And even the Chief Army Staff confessed that to me. The Chief Air Staff also believe. And in some of their submission, they agree with me 100% that, look, whenever they go to fight these bandits, they always relate because of, they use the local vigilante for intelligence gathering. But those local vigilante, they are not armed. And in that very amendment, we inserted a clause where we now amended the act and allow the army or the military, whether Air Force, Navy, or even police, to time work closely with this local vigilante and allow them to use also those firearms, working together with them, because that's the only way you can confront the bandits. Instead of making noise, I look at the act. And when you look at the penalties for illegal possession of firearms in Nigeria, you'll be shocked that the penalty is about 30,000, thereabout. And there is option to only fine, no imprisonment. Why wouldn't we have 350 million illegal firearms in circulation in Nigeria?
While you are hopeful that the president will sign the Firearms Act, you have a state police commission bill before the Senate currently. And only recently, following an interview with Channels Television, the president clearly stated that state police was not an option. How does that make you feel?
Let me tell you something. You know, we're in democracy. Sometimes we disagree to agree. Today, that could be Mr. President's position. Tomorrow, it can change. I can assure you, this democracy, we have to always work on spirit argument. Sitting here, I believe in state police, and I know that's the only solution, because security is local. Mr. President even said it. But when you're talking about community policing, it's not going to work. It will not work. Why? Because the law as it is today do not allow those vigilantes to be in the position of firearms. And how can they confront the bandits who are moving around with AK-47 and sophisticated weapons? So community policing, you can only use that for intelligence gathering. I agree. When you talk about the role of the rancher rulers, it's about intelligence gathering. They can give you the intelligence because you know anybody that comes to a community, they will know the person because you know the name of everybody that lives within that community. So you can use them for intelligence gathering. That is the only thing they can do. But to tell me that, look, you can empower them to fight. Because I had one governor also saying, why not people take dependent selves? We're not there yet. We have not exhausted our laws. We can do better than that. If you ask people to go and start applying for license to own firearms, but the governor must have forgotten that the law is there. You need to amend that law. That's why we're in the National Assembly, to look at the laws and educate them that some things are constitutional. They are not just something you just pronounce, and it happens. So that's the problem.
But on the issue of state police, how do we, in enacting the law, on the issue of state governors weaponizing the state police against their political opponents, how do we check that?
Let me also take you back a bit. You see, because some of us have been in this struggle for decades, I can tell you, if you recall, the Constitution itself is not perfect, this Constitution. At the beginning, you remember Chief El-Rufai, when we were together with him, we made very strong presentation that time, and we made a lot of effort, even to the level of Supreme Court, to even amend Section 308 that gave governors immunity, you remember. So a governor, as I'm talking to you, has immunity already. What powers do you want to give to a governor again? He has he has enough power. When we look at the Constitution, the first thing we did, I'm talking about over 10 years ago, you know, we took the battle up to the Supreme Court. I was one of the plaintiffs for information. One Ghana took the case to amend the Constitution and remove the immunity of governors. But we failed. The Supreme Court ruled against us. And in any case, today, we are talking about state police. For me, I believe we need to try it first. We don't try it, then we'll sit down and allow the bandits to keep killing our people because we're afraid that governors will use the state police. I don't believe so. And in that, if you look at what we are proposing as state police, we also came up with some interventions there, some clauses where we said, in case, in a situation whereby there will be conflicts between the state police and the federal police force, the federal police force will override the state police. That happens in many countries around the world. Even in America. Many countries you can mention. So why are we afraid of that? What is happening, what we have today is not working. So can't we try something? Anybody who is afraid of state police, I can tell you, is just someone who probably do not appreciate the problem we're having today. As I'm talking to you, no state governor has powers over the security agencies in his own state. He can't command the commissioner of police. He can't instruct any military personnel working there. Only recently we heard what happened in Lagos State. And people were talking. And I said, why? Because that is a constitutional provision. What that officer was saying, he was wrong. He was wrong.
Or Senator Sani, let's talk about the loans which you and your colleagues approved for Governor El-Rufai. In the last assembly, the $350 million loan request of Governor El-Rufai was denied by Senator Sani and Suleiman Hunkuyi at the time. But when you came in, you approved those loans. Senator Sani's argument was that the details for which those loans will be used and the repayment plan was not made available. Did you get those made available to you before approving those loans?
Let me tell you, you see, some people, taking a loan from World Bank is not the same thing with going to Zenith Bank and take a loan. By the grace of God, I'm sitting here as the chairman of the Senate Committee on Banking. And I know if you, Mr. Terry, wants to go to Zenith Bank and take loan, just Zenith Bank, not World Bank, I can tell you the condition to get a loan from World Bank is 10 times more difficult than taking a loan from Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank will not give you a loan today if you are not sure of the requirement or whether you have fulfilled all the necessary requirement for the repayment. They will not give you that loan to you. Even Zenith Bank here, we're not talking about the World Bank. The condition and the process is very, very transparent. And so we don't play politics with the loan from World Bank. Nobody play politics with the loan from World Bank. They know what they are doing. And it wasn't only Kaduna State that applied for that loan. Maybe they didn't tell you. Many other states applied. World Bank turned it down. They said those states do not have the requirement. And they checked the system there in those states. They look at the mechanism for the payment. They realize that they cannot be able to even guarantee anything. So they refused to give them that loan. But Kaduna State government put a strong team, went to the World Bank, made the presentation, and that was why $350 million loan was approved. It went to the level of the World Bank board. They don't play politics in World Bank, make no mistake about that. So when people sit here to misinform the gullible people, I just feel sorry for them because we're talking about the World Bank. And today, when you go to Kaduna, you'll be proud of what we've done because even El-Rufai's enemy will agree with me that what he has done in terms of infrastructure development, no state governor have done that in this country. And you can go and check.
All right, as chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, let's get your thoughts on the VAT controversy between states and federal. Where do you stand on this?
No, I can tell you the issue of VAT, I will correct it, is not even really part of my committee, to be honest. It has to do with the finance. So I may not be able to give you the accurate answer because I don't speculate.
But just in case you become governor.
Yeah, I don't speculate.
If you end up as governor
you see,
of
because
Kaduna State, where would you want that to go?
No, for me, when we get there, I will sit down and look at it. But as of today, I don't want to get involved because a lot of conversation I've gone through, a lot of the Minister of Finance, the Committee on Finance, I have discussed with a lot of relevant agencies and I was not in the meeting. So I don't want to sit here and speculate. Everything I'm talking to you about is facts, no speculation. I have no idea about it.
But then, as chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, I'm sure you've in your interactions with in the financial finance sector, you've said that prominent Nigerians are hampering the debt recoveries. Could you talk to us a little about that?
The fact remains, as the chairman of the Committee on Banking, I my committee oversight the activities of AMCON. When I came in 2019, I invited all the agencies under my committee to look at their activities, what are their goals, how can I help them to succeed. And AMCON came under the leadership of Ahmed Kuru, who is the MD. He came with his own team. They presented their own position to me, and I listened to them. And I was really, really shocked when I asked them to send me how much they have recovered in the last 5 years. Because Ahmed Kuru was appointed 2015. So I said, look, Ahmed Kuru are now 4 years in this office, and let me know how far have you gone in actualizing the mandate of this important agency. And he told me clearly that, look, there's little or no progress. And I was shocked. I said, why? Because we took over 4 trillion, or let me say trillions, I don't have the numbers, of government money to bail out banks when there was crisis in our financial sector. And that was a global crisis at that time. We're talking about 2009. That was when AMCON was created, 2010. When government decided to say, look, let's now bail out those banks. Now transferring personal loan to sovereign loan. And AMCON was created to recover those loans. That was the reason. So when they did that, Ahmed Kuru was appointed 5 years after. Before him, it was Mr. Pachiko who was there. So when I asked him, I realized that there was no any progress but the thing that really shook me was that out of the 4.7 trillion they were trying to recover, only about 21 or 22 Nigerians that are responsible for about over 2 trillion debt. And about 350 Nigerians are responsible for about 80% of that 4.7 trillion. And I asked myself, who are these people? And later I realized that there are people who are big people in this country. Some of them are still flying with private jets, having houses in some of the most important countries around the world. And yet, we cannot recover those loans. So what did I do? Again, I didn't make noise. I look at the AMCON Act as it is. And I said, Ahmed Kuru, give me the Act of AMCON. And he brought it to me. What did I do? I said, look, we need to update this Act for you to succeed. And I will amend it. Usually, every 5 years, we need to extend resolution cost fund, meaning we must extend the life of AMCON every 5 years until they recover that. That is what is in the Act. But I said, look, I'm not going to extend to the next 5 years because I know you cannot achieve. I asked him, if we extend it to the next 5 years, can you achieve your mandate? He said, no. I said, why? He said, even in the next 15 years, it's not possible. I said, then we need some intervention. What did I do? I looked at the Act. I amended the Act, inserted 3 clauses there. 1, I added a clause where I gave AMCON power for asset tracing. Because a lot of people that borrowed that money gave their own asset. They went to their villages, built massive houses, and came to Abuja and took hundreds of millions and billions of loans and used those houses as collateral. Now AMCON have taken over the loan. Nobody will go to Zaria, my hometown, and buy 1 billion house. Nobody will go to your own town, your village, and buy a house for 1 billion. But if he has property in Abuja, we can sell the property. So I now say, look, let me add a clause and give them power for asset tracing. So if you take a loan, even if you provided collateral from any part of the country, we can come and trace any property you have in Abuja or Lagos or Port Harcourt, anywhere, and AMCON can take it over. That is a clause. Second clause is that, look, recall when I became chairman committee on banking, I sat down with the CBN governor also and asked him, what are the problems we are facing? And I realized that Banking and Other Financial Institution Act, BOFIA, was obsolete, was not updated since 1991. I also amended the act, and President Buhari assented it, and it's now a law. So I look in that act, when I was amending the BOFIA Act, I inserted credit tribunal. And that credit tribunal, I now added a clause in the AMCON Act. And I said, look, you can now have discretion to either approach normal court because they've been frustrated by courts. Some cases are there for like 7 years, 5 years, 6 years. So I added credit tribunal and I gave them the powers. And I put it in the AMCON Act that they can now assess that tribunal whenever they need it. So they have the discretion to either go to the conventional court or go to the credit tribunal. That was also settled. So these are the two major clauses I added in the AMCON Act. Now it was passed and President Buhari assented it on the 12th of November last year. Now it's a law.
Distinguished Senator Sani, thank you very much for coming to speak with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's Political Paradigm. Thanks for your time. I am Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.